An LA school board member and 2 students are on a mission to Africa tonight to bring help to starving famine victims. School board member Rita Walters and the student body presidents are carrying an advanced delivery of emergency relief supplies.
While we're there, we expect to visit 3 of the feeding stations and to observe the work of the organizations that are working in Ethiopia, World Vision, Operation California, and UNICEF.
Personally, I hope to accomplish a wider understanding of the situation in Ethiopia and Africa, and to really see firsthand what it's like to go through the suffering and the human torture that these people are going through.
I expect to get firsthand experience of what's going on in another country where they're less fortunate, and then to come back and share this firsthand experience, from being there with these people and, writing the daily journal and letting them know exactly what I did and how I felt so they could feel it too.
The city's school fund drive hopes to raise $250,000 for famine relief. The city's school delegation will be back home this Thursday.
Well, today is the last day.
Brand.
You're number 1, 'cause you come first.
All week, students all over the Los Angeles Unified School District have really dug in, worked hard. They've been raising money to help the children starving in Ethiopia. This Kids for Kids project has prompted 2 Southland students to travel to Africa for a first-hand look and greater understanding of what's happening there. Fred Anderson has the whole thing.
Christine and Jerry, tonight, Sabrina Moore will go to her Gardena High School prom. Oliver Benjamin will go to his at North Hollywood High. And when they wake up tomorrow morning, they will join school board member Rita Walters on a trip to a world much different than theirs here in Southern California. There have been several medical inoculations to get, and passports and visas to arrange, and lots of details. But now school board member Rita Walters and student body presidents Sabrina Moore of Gardena High and Oliver Benjamin of North Hollywood High will be ready to leave early tomorrow morning for Ethiopia to see for themselves the conditions there.
The purpose of our trip is really to give these students who have put so much into it an opportunity to see firsthand the suffering that is there. Not only to see the suffering, to observe that, but to observe supplies, medical supplies, that are being contributed by the students of this district, put to use there on the ground in Ethiopia.
I think it's great. It's given me a chance to grow and then share what I learned with the other students. And it gives us all a good chance to gain responsibility and just show that we care and be able to help.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity that as a student, that someone involved in this drive can really go and see what the situation is and not just see it on TV. We've seen all these programs on TV, but hardly any of us has actually had a chance to see it up close, to see the suffering, to see how different the world can be in certain areas. I mean, when you live in suburbs, such as most of the students that I know, or for me, an example, you don't really get a chance to see how bad situations can be in other areas of the world, especially if you're conditioned to live the way I've been all my life.
It's going to be a little different than the San Fernando Valley.
Quite.
And while Oliver and Sabrina are in Ethiopia, their fellow students here at home will continue to raise funds. If you want to help, you can donate in the name of your favorite school by calling 213-625-KIDS, 213-625-KIDS. One more week to go after this.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks for that. Teenagers in the United States have become more sexually
could burn off quickly.
The threesome bound for Ethiopia, Oliver Benjamin of North Hollywood High School, Rita Walters, LA Board of Education member, and Sabrina Moore of Gardena High, met at the airport gate.
It's not going to be a pleasant experience. It's not going to be a holiday vacation for me, but it's going to be a broadening experience, and I think I'll learn a lot.
Still dressed from prom the night before, Sabrina talked with confidence about the long journey ahead.
I see myself as helping out, getting involved. I definitely don't want to just be an observer or it'd be a waste of time, and I can learn a lot more by doing than just looking on.
The LA School District is in the midst of an African relief fundraiser. The aim is to beat New York City students who raised $250,000. The trip brings the meaning of all this closer to home.
We really get a sense of the people, that we really get a sense of the problems they're facing, the country, and that we really see some of the supplies that we're raising money for delivered and used.
So after a last-minute check of medical supplies, the necessary hugs and kisses, Rita, Oliver, and Sabrina were off for 6 days. Well, sleepy-eyed from the night before, undoubtedly this trip will be an eye-opener for the two students and hopefully for many more students throughout the L.A. school district. From LAX, Carolyn Wallace, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And
Easy for these kids. Just learning how to walk or breathe is a major accomplishment. But the children at the Lohman School for the Handicapped in North Hollywood are not going to sit still while the children in other LA schools raise money for the kids in Africa. This is a walkathon. Parents and friends are paying from 10 to 25 cents a lap as the children complete a walking course through their school. The youngest student started out this morning, and while they may be young, they are very aware of what they are doing and why.
For the people
Which people?
in Africa. They don't have any food, that's why they're dying.
And what are you trying to do here?
Raising money for them. Because they're dying.
And why are they dying?
Because they don't have any food.
You're going to keep walking to get food for them, huh?
Right.
And like children everywhere, they have learned the words to a special song.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a better day. So let's start giving.
Well, you'll never hear the message any clearer than it's being said here today by the kids at the Lohman School. And if you'd like to help them build up the funds for the starving kids of Ethiopia, you can call 213-625-KIDS, 213-625-KIDS, and tell them that you want to support in the name of the Lohman School. Fred Anderson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News, North Hollywood.
That's not Hollywood.
Famine relief funds collected from Los Angeles school children.
Coming up on News 13, update. Rita Walters and two high school students returned, awaiting friends, a little wiser than when they left. Walters says what they saw in Africa left an impact on students Sabrina Moore and Oliver Benjamin.
I think they were deeply, deeply moved, and they had a response that was mature and appropriate beyond their ages. I was impressed with their ability to handle the situation, to cope with it, and to really perceive the truth of the situation and feel the responsibility for doing something about it.
The trio brought medical supplies to the famine victims, hoping a continued fund drive will make future medical shipments possible. A former aerospace engineer is behind bars tonight, sentenced to life in prison for trying to sell defense secrets to the Soviets. Thomas Patrick Kavanaugh admits trying to sell details of the stealth bomber to undercover agents.
The hands of Concord mariner S.G. Callender.
Returned from a visit to Ethiopia. There they helped to feed the starving and saw what a nationwide drought can do. It was a lesson they said they could not learn in a classroom. Steve Kometko was there.
Los Angeles high school students Sabrina Moore and Oliver Benjamin returned from their eye-opening trip to a warm welcome from family and friends. Since Saturday, they've been in Ethiopia on a mercy mission. The two personally delivered supplies to the starving and sick of that drought-stricken nation.
We had to walk through these people, and they were just crowding around us, begging us for help, to help them, because they were just suffering so much.
It shocked me. I mean, because you couldn't prepare for something like this until you got there. And then when I got there, it was like, I wanted to cry, but then I don't want them to see me sad.
The two teenagers were very active and worked hard in a citywide project by students to raise money for famine relief. That was part of the reason they were selected to represent the school district. The trip was organized to make sure the help they had to offer was certain to get where it was needed most. School board member Rita Walters acted as chaperone and praised her young traveling companions.
I think they were deeply, deeply moved, and they had a response that was mature and appropriate beyond their ages.
No one can really understand what's going on over there until you see it. All the pictures in the world, all the stories in the world can never take the place of actually being there.
It didn't shock me because I expected it, but it really was a very emotional experience, and it really brought out a lot of sadness.
Sabrina and Oliver say they'll never forget the experiences they had or the sights they saw. Now they hope to make their friends and fellow students understand what famine is and just how much help the starving people of Africa need. At Los Angeles International Airport, Steve Kometko, Channel 2 News.
The drive to raise money for famine relief continues in the school district. The students have nearly reached a $250,000 goal they had set for themselves.
Coming up next year on the Channel 2 News.
Also a smashing success
We'll show you what they...
And there right now, we will hear their stories, their reactions. Next up.
Here this morning. Welcome home.
I had 140,000 seats to fill in San Francisco.
From a fact-finding trip to Ethiopia. As Fred Anderson reports, one of their first stops was KABC Talk Radio and Michael Jackson.
From North Hollywood High, Oliver Benjamin, and from Gardena High, Sabrina Moore. Welcome home. Good to have you with us.
The student body presidents traveled to Ethiopia with school board member Rita Walters on a trip paid for by private industry. The idea was to see and then to tell what they saw to others. They began this morning by visiting with Michael Jackson on KABC Talk Radio.
You were there such a brief while. Do you think it's made a lasting impact on you?
Showed me that I should be more grateful for the things that I have, because it's a lot more than they have, and they, although they didn't have much, they still cared.
What would you like to be able to do? You've come back with a frustration, it's pretty obvious. You've come back altered in just a brief journey. What would you like to be able to do with this newfound knowledge?
I'd like to see if I could let people understand what's going on there and why it's everybody's responsibility to help.
If you'd like to make a donation, perhaps in the name of Oliver or Sabrina, you can call area code 213-625-KIDS. 213-625-KIDS. They'll be happy to tell you how.
Los Angeles high school students who just returned from Africa, where they had a first-hand look at the situation. One of those students was back in school today to tell his schoolmates what he saw. Fred Anderson has that part of the story. Fred?
Well, Jerry, Oliver Benjamin and Sabrina Moore will soon be traveling throughout the L.A. school district sharing what they learned in Ethiopia. This morning, Oliver Benjamin, student body president of North Hollywood High, began by briefing members of his own student government. Oliver Benjamin came back to class at North Hollywood High today with vivid memories and photographs he had taken of the conditions in Ethiopia.
This is a woman, you can see her legs are like sticks. When I first saw her, I didn't know if she was dead or alive. She moved when I started to take a picture of her. He has flies swarming all over him, and he's in really bad shape. And, he could barely even close his eyelids. This is what they eat. This is called fafa. It's a milk and grain combination, and it looks something like uncooked pancake dough. It's amazing the way these kids take care of themselves. They're very young. Some are like 2 or 3 years old, and they barely have the energy to take care of themselves, and yet they brush the flies off of their younger brothers and sisters. When they're weak, I saw someone giving piggyback rides. They could barely even stand up. They're giving each other piggyback rides. The freakiest thing about the whole trip was when we touched down at Adjabar. We had to walk through a big crowd of people, starving people, in order to get inside the camp. So they followed us around, and they were moaning and begging us for help and showing us different parts in their body that were hurting and that were diseased. They'd point to their chest, they had heart problems, they'd point to their legs where they had disease on them, they'd be moaning and screaming and crying, tears just like flowing down their faces, and it was really emotional because, for someone that's lived in the suburbs all his life and been pretty much sheltered from things like this, it was really a touching experience, and it was kind of scary.
The L.A. School District still has not totaled up the contributions raised in the past 2 weeks. Oliver Benjamin says, however, that even if the kids do not raise...
Tenaisteling, that is the traditional Ethiopian greeting in the language of Amharic, which is the language of Ethiopia. It means hello, and it carries with it a blessing from God. I'm Larry Carroll, and I want to thank the Los Angeles Unified School District for giving me this opportunity to share with you today about a country that has become one of my favorites, and to share with some of your classmates and with school board member Rita Walters their experiences recently on a trip to Ethiopia. And of course, you've heard about that on the news. We've reported it on Eyewitness News, and you've seen it and heard about it probably in every medium that's available here in Los Angeles. Let me first start by introducing the people who are with us today. Immediately to my left is Sabrina Moore. She's the student body president at Gardena High School. Hi, Sabrina. Good. And next to her, Oliver Benjamin, the student body president at North Hollywood High School. Hi, Oliver.
Hello.
Indeed. And next to Oliver, of course, Rita Walters, member of the Los Angeles Board of Education. And first, let me spend some time Ms. Walters, explaining how this whole thing came about.
Larry, 2020, an ABC News production, did a special about a month ago now, depicting the efforts of the students in the New York City schools to alleviate the suffering in Ethiopia. Congressman Julian Dixon called me and alerted me to that program and said, this may be something you want to do in the Los Angeles Unified School District. As soon as I saw it, I knew that it surely was, and I went to the superintendent and other board members, and they were all most enthusiastic about it, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. I know neither Sabrina nor Oliver had ever been before. Had you been into Ethiopia or into Africa before?
No, I had been in several countries abroad, but never had I been to Africa.
So that was in itself something very powerful, I would suspect.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you guys, what kind of an experience was this? People talk about something called culture shock. Did you experience any of that? What was the sensation that you experienced going into a place like Ethiopia?
Well, when we first got there, it was kind of interesting because Addis Ababa, the capital, is similar to LA, some of the poorer parts of LA, and we got there and we thought, wow, this isn't really that different, and we were expecting something much different. But when we did, the next day when we did fly out to the feeding camps, it was just incredible, because you never see things like that around here. I mean, people just lying in the dirt with diseases all over them, moaning and crying, and the whole, just a big, vast wasteland of brown, of dirt with no vegetation. That was the way the first camp was that we visited.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sabrina?
Well, it didn't really seem different. When we got there, Oliver and I talked about it, and we said we wouldn't even notice that we were away from home until we thought about it. Hey, we're in Africa. But the people were a lot like at home until we got to the camp, like he said, where it was vastly different.
So you're surprised by the similarity in the city and surprised by the difference in the rural area.
Yeah.
What was the itinerary like, first of all?
When we got to the city, after we settled in and everything, we went to the two camps, Ajibar and Sokia. And we just spent hours at a time at each camp. And mostly that was the itinerary there, but what we found at the camps was really amazing.
In what sense?
Well, what was so surprising to me was how much hope I found in all this despair, how happy the people could be, how much caring and love they had for each other. As opposed to home, we don't find much of that here. And all the poverty and the disease. But basically, I found the hope the most exciting thing there.
That's really interesting, because that's something I noticed. We have seen a number of programs here in Los Angeles that are administered by various branches of the government that give away food. There are a lot of agencies that will come through at Christmas and Thanksgiving, and they'll give away turkeys and that sort of thing, and there will always be a lot of pandemonium. And you watch it on television all the time, you see that kind of thing. But you're telling me that that isn't the kind of way. There's a famine going on in this country, right? Yeah. Did that surprise you, Oliver?
What, you mean at the camps?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It's very evident. The people in the camps are just, there is no pandemonium. The people are very grateful to the help that they're receiving. They're very polite. That when we came to the camp, some of the people that were just hungry and obviously starving, would offer to carry our bags, would follow us around, beg to have pictures taken of them. I mean, when you see the people on the streets in LA, begging for food, they're bitter, they're cold. The people in Ethiopia were just so grateful to the help that they were getting. The hope there was just incredible.
Yeah. You seem to have been profoundly affected by what you saw.
Well, because I've never seen anything like this. I've lived in the valley all my life, and you don't see struggles and hopes and a real life battle like this. You don't see that in LA.
You talk about an educational experience. That sure is one, isn't it?
Definitely.
Dr. Rita Walters was talking just a moment ago about the program that was instituted here in the Los Angeles City Schools, and it's something in which you can become involved, and it's provided us all a wonderful opportunity now to learn more about Africa because of the crisis. We don't always need a crisis to learn about things, but this has certainly become an opportunity not only to learn about it, but to participate in part of the solution. And Los Angeles Unified School District students have the opportunity now to do that. If you want to become involved in this effort to help these, our family members in fact, give this number a call. It's 213 area 625-KIDS. That's 625-KIDS. Or you can write the Los Angeles Students for Ethiopian Aid. That's Post Office Box 875-679. One more time, 875-679, Terminal Annex, Los Angeles, California, 90087. You have seen, I'm sure, on television, the coverage of the Ethiopian crisis since it came to our attention about the middle part of last year. Did you see things differently through your own eyes than you had seen them through television? Was it different?
To me, it was very different. All the news documentaries, the magazine coverage, nothing could actually take the place of being there with these people, feeling part of what they're feeling. I don't think you can feel what they were feeling, but it was quite different to me. And we did see hope, and we did see our medical supplies and food helping over there. Mm-hmm. And to me, there was no way I could prepare to go over there. And I was, you know, shocked, but happy at what I did see.
So you actually did see food being distributed?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
So you know for a fact that it's getting there?
Yes, it is. I had my doubts. I mean, I heard stories about organizations that had been confiscating some of the money that was being raised for their own purposes. But from what we've seen and from what we've learned, there are organizations, at least that we saw, that are devoted strictly to helping these people, and every cent is going directly to these people.
Did you have an opportunity to establish any relationships, to get to know any of the Ethiopians, or was it too short a time? Did you?
We did. Nobody personally at the camp, as they didn't speak any English. They spoke the native language Amharic. But our escort, Tom, who lived in Addis Ababa, who had to accompany us along the trip, we talked to him a lot. We learned a lot about the country through him, through the situations there, the government influence, the attitude of the people. It was really interesting. I mean, along with learning about the feeding camps, we also learned about the culture of Ethiopia.
Yeah. You have a tape that you made that I want to, if we can, let's try and play it. Tell us about it first.
Okay. At the second camp we went to, it was called Antioquia, and what they had set up, they set up a song called the Diarrhea Song.
The Diarrhea Song?
Diarrhea Song.
Seriously now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where the students would sing this before every meal as sort of an educational aid to help them prevent the spread of severe diarrheal diseases, which is a big problem over there. The song says such things as keep away the flies because they spread disease, keep your hands clean, don't put your fingers in your mouth, use the latrines, don't just go out in the fields. I recorded one kid singing this.
Now those are the words we can all sing along, correct?
Yeah, really. I know the first line.
What was it like where that song was being sung?
It was incredible. We went to the room where they were being fed, and it was just hundreds of kids sitting down in this little room. One youngster, I guess he was about 4 or 5, was standing up. Maybe he was older. Was standing up and leading it, and this was just him singing. He sang to me after the meal.
So you got a solo performance.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But what he would do, he would sing one line, and the whole room of kids would repeat it after him. And it was just such an emotional thing.
I've got pictures of that. As you may know, I spent the Christmas holidays, part of the Christmas holidays in 1984 in Ethiopia with a group of people and with an organization that I've been working with to try and help the Ethiopian problem as well as the famine and drought problem all over Africa. And 3 of the people that we went with had some interesting experiences that we put together on tape that I thought we'd share and we can look at together, and maybe I'd like to hear what you think after we got through. The 3 people you're going to hear from right now are Dick Gregory, and Dick Gregory is a comedian and a social activist for many, many years in this country, and I suppose I met him in about 1968 during that turbulent Democratic convention that some of you may know about. He had some very interesting comments, and since he went with us in December, has been back about 5 times delivering foodstuffs and materials to aid in the situation. His daughter who's about 19 or 21, between 19 and 21 years old right now, was with us as well. Her name is Lynn Gregory, and she works with school-age kids in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and you'll hear from her. And the third person you're going to hear from in this short piece is the son of Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King III, and you'll recognize him. He'll be the third person you'll see in this piece, and right after that, I believe you're going to see the latrine song being sung. Let's look at that right now. On this trip, the Black American response to the crisis in Ethiopia was to purchase and deliver the first of a convoy of four-wheel drive trucks to be used in the relief effort.
And we give all thanks to God for Dick Gregory and his contribution for the beginning of the purchasing of several trucks.
I just want to where they can go back and explain what goes on here, what they see. You got to see the beauty of the people who works here, the people who's here every day, that have to look at this, the people that got to go out every morning and determine who's going to come into camps and be fed and who's not going to come into camps and be fed, and then look at the mothers that when they get through being reviewed by one line, go slip in another line and hope that they, that they get picked up. What I feel, if you go back and say to the masses of the people, we can change it. So it's not like you got to wave a magic wand and ask for a miracle. We the miracle. You go back and you say, hey, we're losing people over there in certain areas just because of water. We're losing people over there just because of exposure. I got up this morning and deliberately took off everything I had except my shorts and sit in the cold to feel what these children go through, what these mothers have to be going through, what a pregnant woman have to be going through. And it's kind of shocking because when you think of Africa, you don't think of being cold. You don't think I have to sleep. Man, I had to sleep with long drawers on my first night here. I got that cold, But it can be turned around, and I just feel that we will turn it around. And I think, the one human side that haven't been showed, we see death, but we don't see the workers. We don't see the people who have dedicated their life, who have to sit there and give the shots, who have to sit there and see to it that the food is distributed in an orderly fashion. And when you come over here, you get to see that whole picture.
So it's significant to try to understand what happened to our people firsthand, talk with them, touch them, feel them, see exactly first rate, not word of mouth, what they are feeling and how can I relate this to my feelings, basically just to find out that, and to prove to others that we are the same, we are family. And the only thing that's dividing us is that ocean. We are family. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. I got all my sisters with me. These children are hungry, but they're smiling. Because they feel love. They know we're different, of course, by the way we talk. And they see that we are healthy, and I think they sense a sense of wealth and that we can do something for them. That's why they cling to us. But it's good for them to know that people that look just like them can have this. And so that gives them hope.
Daddy used to say that no man is free until all men are free. I can't be free until my brothers everywhere are fed. And he addressed these concerns. Certainly in the United States, there was much confinement at that time. But I'm sure if he was here today, he would be addressing these concerns as well.
There's that famous latrine song. Before I get your reactions to some of that, let me give that number and address one more time. For the Los Angeles Students for Ethiopian Aid, Post Office Box 875-679, Terminal Annex, Los Angeles, California 90087, or you may call 213-625-KIDS. Those scenes were shot in World Vision's camp in Alamata and in another camp that is run by the Relief and Rehabilitation Commission of Ethiopia in a place called Makale, which is in Tigray province, toward the northern end of Ethiopia. Were there things in those pictures that you could relate to from your experience?
One thing in particular that man said, what he was talking about, that you see the death and you see the starving, but you don't really see the people at work here. Just when I got there and I saw these people who were talented and who could have been doing anything else, doctors, nurses, and they were here because they felt that, that this was something that they had to do. This was something, it was their duty to help these people. And not just the people from America and from other countries, but also the people in Ethiopia that were so dedicated in helping their people that you saw them in the kitchens and that were stirring the fafa, which is the grain milk combination that they eat. Just they're so determined to help the situation.
I see something brewing in your mind, Rita Walters.
Yes, I felt that the scenes that you had depicted were very similar to what we saw. Very, very similar. We observed these outdoor kitchens, people cooking these great pots of grain over just a wooden fire between some bricks on the ground. And the organization of the feeding programs itself among the workers, and the statement in your film that said the people having to determine each day who's going to come in the camps and who's going to be fed and who isn't. In the camp Ajibar, our first visit, we observed two babies that were near death, one in his father's arms, the other on the ground. And the doctor who was walking with us said they make rounds every morning to see who's in bad shape. And those people had not been there very early that morning and had come since then. And they were trying to assist them. The level of concern of the people who are working in the camps is indeed something to behold. People from all over the world who are there giving of themselves, giving of their time, so that other people may live.
I got a question I'm going to save for Sabrina in just a moment. But there are ways that we can help too. All of us can't go to Ethiopia, as you guys have been privileged to do. But there's a lot that we can do here. And of course, here in the Los Angeles Unified School District, students like yourselves have been doing quite a bit lately. And we have been documenting that on the news. And right now, I've got some more videotape that I'd like to show you that's been shot right here in the Los Angeles area that shows some of the things that you have been doing and that we can continue to do to help our friends in Ethiopia. Let's take a look at that now.
I never heard of the wizard. You never heard of the wizard?
These youngsters at Manchester Elementary School are using make-believe to make a miracle. Later this month, they will present their production of The Wiz at 99th Street School. That will be their contribution to raise money for the starving children in Ethiopia. It's part of the citywide LA School District effort for the African Relief Fund. In the meantime, these students are also learning about the plight of the starving people of drought-stricken Ethiopia.
There is a serious crisis in Africa. The people are dying because of starvation. On the TV, I saw that there was only 2 medical clinics in one village.
Sometimes I imagine myself as one of them. It would feel awful, and I would want help, just as they do.
And if I could change the world, the Ethiopians would live and will not die.
The youngsters here at Manchester have brains and courage and a lot of heart. They deserve an A for their effort to make a miracle. Angela Black, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Students at Curtis Junior High in Carson got into the spirit at high noon today with a rally on the school grounds to get up the enthusiasm for what they hope will be $5,200 they'll raise for the kids of Ethiopia.
Today we're having pep rallies, getting people to donate money to Ethiopia, and pretty soon we'll be having variety shows that will people and dances and pretty soon we're having a picnic and they'll pay money to pay in and stuff.
The students have their own brand of song in fashion today. It's called rapping, and if you happen to have a minute, I'll show you something of what's in it.
The bishop of battle, the noble of knights, the king of knowledge, and the priest of right. People in the crowd, throw your hands in the air and they say children and pay your fares. Cause when it comes to rapping, I'm the microphone artist. And sucking MCs take my rhymes the hardest. I inspire the desire of the need to go higher. Cause at the age of 10, I have my own empire.
You as a junior high school are pledging $5,200 or trying to raise that much?
we feel that we can do it as long as we get the community's help, and the students also. I think that we can do it as long as we work together.
Are you going to be out in the community passing the hat?
We're sending letters and things, and we're trying to get the community involved to raise money.
So when they see you, they should give, right?
They should give, because we are the children.
We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. Come on, start giving.
The Taft High School students in Woodland Hills had totaled up $1,750 as of yesterday. Today, several hundred more in contributions came from students who paid $1 each for some noon-hour entertainment. That fantastic human sound effects machine, Michael Winslow, volunteered to do his spectacular imitations because a family friend is a member of the student body.
It's time to get started because the kids in New York have challenged the kids out here in Southern California. So I say to the kids in Southern California, let's take a more creative approach and see if we can beat the kids from New York.
It's time for every single one of you folks to get on the telephones and start bugging people. Time to start calling all those dealer representatives for Ford and Chevy with their built Ford trucks. Hey guys, just how tough are your trucks? Can they beat the African desert? Let's see you try. And while you're at it, deliver some food.
And the popular star of Police Academy 1 and 2 issued some challenges to his fellow celebrities to help the kids of L.A. make a miracle.
I pity the fool that don't take the challenge. Mr. T, where are you? Come on over here and talk to the kids. Bring the A-team with you. Where's Face? Where's Murdoch? Where's everybody else? Hey, fool, I dare you to come over here and talk to these kids. Where's everybody? What's going on?
Life has never been easy for these kids. Just learning how to walk or breathe is a major accomplishment. But the children at the Lohman School for the Handicapped in North Hollywood are not going to sit still while the children in other LA schools raise money for the kids in Africa. This is a walk-a-thon. Parents and friends are paying from 10 to 25 cents a lap as the children complete a walking course through their school. The youngest students started out this morning, and while they may be young, they are very aware of what they are doing and why.
For the people
Which people?
in Africa. They don't have any food, that's why they're dying.
And what are you trying to do here?
Raising money for them. Because they're dying.
And why are they dying?
Because they don't have any food.
You're going to keep walking to get food for them, huh?
Right.
And like children everywhere, they have learned the words to a special song.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a better day. So let's start giving.
Well, you'll never hear the message any clearer than it's being said here today by the kids at the Lohman School. And if you'd like to help them build up the funds for the starving kids of Ethiopia, you can call 213-625-KIDS, 213-625-KIDS, and tell them that you want to support in the name of the Lohman School. Fred Anderson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News, North Hollywood. The kids at Martin Luther King Elementary School in South Central Los Angeles have come up with a way to double their donations to the starving kids of Ethiopia. They have each donated $1 for a helium-filled balloon. Attached to those balloons are cards asking whoever finds it to send $1 to their school.
I think the boys and girls are very enthusiastic. This was really a fine effort, and their excitement here shows today their enthusiasm for the cause of the needy people in Africa, and we're certainly happy to have participated in this effort.
Well, some of the balloons didn't make it, but most of them did. And if you find one of those cards, send back $1 to the King Elementary School. If you don't find a balloon, you can just call 213-625-KIDS, 213-625-KIDS, and they'll tell you how to make a donation. Fred Anderson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News, report.
Okay. Meantime, there are some other things that are going on in the school district very quickly.
There really are. The schools are really into it. I've just been told that Fairfax High School, for example, has raised more than $10,000. Birmingham High School issued a challenge early on. They committed to $10,000 and challenged other high schools to beat them. So we're really off and running. We really are making a miracle together, Larry.
Fantastic. Last question now. Sabrina, what does your heart say about your experience And then what does your head say about what has to be done?
My heart says sadness and pain and hunger, but hope, love, brotherhood. My heart tells me to cry. I mean, I want to cry, but then my head says no, because I have so much and they have so little and they have so much hope. And my head says the only thing that we could do is to lend a helping hand, to go out there and help, to give what we can. You know, we're not asking for everybody to go and sell their house, but whatever you have to give, it's worth it. The children helping the other children in Africa is evident. Hopefully we can gain love and brotherhood out of this whole thing, if nothing else.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Rita Walters, thank you very much for being with us today. Oliver Benjamin, student body president at North Hollywood High School, thank you very much for being with us. And, of course, Sabrina Moore, student body president of Gardena High School. Once again, let me emphasize that you can be involved, and you've heard the number several times. It doesn't hurt to say it one more time, 213-625-KIDS, or you may write the LA Students for Ethiopian Aid, Post Office Box 875-679, Terminal Annex, Los Angeles, California, 90087. And remember, never get the feeling that this problem is too big for us. We can do anything we set our minds to. And that goes for school, it goes for grades, and it goes to solving the problems of our fellow men around the world. So let's get to it, and we can do it. Thank you very much. And in the Amharic language, I'll give you the... Remember we started off by saying Tanaistaling. I'll say goodbye by saying Danawan. God bless you. Take care.
Been easy for these kids. Just learning how to walk or breathe is a major accomplishment. But the children at the Lohman School for the Handicapped in North Hollywood are not going to sit still while the children in other LA schools raise money for the kids in Africa. This is a walkathon. Parents and friends are paying from 10 to 25 cents a lap as the children complete a walking course through their school. The youngest students started out this morning, and while they may be young, they are very aware of what they are doing and why.
For the people.
Which people?
Homework hotline, may I help you?
Biggest unified school districts recently accepted a challenge from school kids across the country to raise thousands of dollars for the starving children in Ethiopia. Well, right now, Fred Anderson joins us to tell us if that challenge was met. Fred.
Well, Joanne, it started on the ABC TV program 2020 when they showed kids from New York City as they collected $250,000 for the starving kids in Ethiopia. The New York kids challenged kids in other cities, and here in LA, the challenge was accepted. They started just 5.5 weeks ago. LA school children, from the youngest to the oldest. They sold things, put on shows, used their imagination to raise money. And today, they showed they did much more than just meet the $250,000 challenge thrown out by the kids from the New York school system. School Superintendent Dr. Harry Handler presented a symbolic ceremonial check for $400,284.25.
I'm extremely pleased to be able to report to you today that young people in this area, which includes a significant contribution from the Santa Monica School District, have raised over $400,000 in this drive. I believe that with this amount and with the expertise of those who will put the funds to use, we will soon be able to say that the students in Los Angeles have indeed helped to make a miracle.
And the money is still coming in. This morning I spoke at the Bethune Junior High School graduation. They gave me a check for $1,200. There's a young lady here from Fairfax High School who already turned in $10,000, and they brought another $1,100 today. And so it's that kind of response that has been so special as we've tried to make a miracle. And it's really been the children who have, or the young people who have sparked this on.
Also on hand for the climax, Sabrina Moore and Oliver Benjamin, the two student body presidents who went to Ethiopia with Rita Walters to see the situation firsthand.
I knew the Los Angeles students could do it from the beginning, and I'm, as I said before, super proud of each and every one of them.
As we've heard going around, there's been opinions that students nowadays don't care about the world around them, that they're just, all they care about is themselves and their activities and their friends and going out on weekends and having fun. We can see today that this isn't true. We've raised all this money, just the students themselves, activities working hard together to help the situation over in Ethiopia. And I am extremely proud of the students of the LAUSD school district.
And you saw it, that check was for over $400,000, but when you add in $125,000 collected by LA school kids earlier in the year, and the money still coming into this minute, our kids in LA have now raised over $500,000 for African relief, and school officials today say they appreciate tremendous support from our Eyewitness News viewers, Jerry, that helped put them over the top.
From those who have to those who have not, life-saving generosity. Terrific. The news continues now with Paul and Ann.
All right.